Hey guys, I am here to talk about my labor and delivery story. I know this is a video that a lot of people have been waiting for, so I'm here to do it now. And I'm also going to be putting up some footage from my actual delivery, but I'm not sure how much of it I can put up because it is a little bit graphic, and my husband was like, "You're not putting that on the internet, right?" So, I don't know, I might have to figure something out with like blurring stuff or just cutting some parts out, but I will have some footage of the delivery up. A lot of you guys on my Instagram have said you were excited to hear all about my natural and fast labor. Well, it was not fast by any means, so I'm just going to go ahead and start from the beginning. So it all started Thursday night. I had gotten my first set of real contractions that night, and I decided, you know, these are kind of coming pretty frequently, it seems, so why not just download a contraction timer app on my phone? So I downloaded the app and I timed them for 2 hours, and they were consistently 7 to 8 minutes apart. That night I also got this contraction that felt a little bit strong, and it felt like I was going to pass a clot while I was on my period. So I went to the bathroom, and sure enough, I had lost a part of my mucus plug and there was some blood in it. So I was getting pretty excited, you know, things were starting to happen. I was getting some contractions that were 7 to 8 minutes apart already, and I lost a part of my mucus plug and there was blood in it. And I was just really excited, thinking that I could go into labor in just a few hours or have my baby on Friday, which was the next day, but that didn't happen. So I called my mom and I told her everything that was going on, and she and my dad were going to fly out on Friday the 5th, so I would have been 39 weeks exactly. So I had called her and told her I was having contractions and I lost my mucus plug, and so she was like, okay, well, when I lost my mucus plug with a few of you girls, she had 5 girls, so she said, when I lost my mucus plug, I ended up having the baby the next day, so maybe that could happen, I don't know. And she's like, I might have to come down sooner, or come up sooner, because I don't want to miss the birth, and it seems like things are starting to happen. So I went to sleep that night, and I woke up on Friday the next day and I was still having contractions, but they were still only 7 to 8 minutes apart, and they seemed to have died down. They weren't as strong as they were Thursday night. So I went about my day. I went to the grocery store that evening, and at the grocery store is when I started getting some pretty strong contractions, and they seemed to be becoming more frequent. So when I got home, I timed them and they were about 6 minutes apart. So I called my mom and I told her what was going on, and I said, I don't know, I think you guys should come sooner because I feel like I'm gonna have this baby before 40 weeks, and I don't know, maybe before 39 weeks. And my dad was like, no, you're fine, you still have a couple weeks to go, this stuff takes a long time, I know. And I was like, well, I don't know, I really just have a feeling that this baby's coming sooner, and I'm already getting contractions and they are stronger now. And so my mom was like, yeah, I think we better go sooner. So they canceled their flight, and there was a flight available on Saturday, which was the very next day, or Monday. There were no flights on Sunday. So I was 38 weeks at the time, and so I still had 2 weeks until my due date. So we were all trying to decide what would be the best day to come, and it was just a couple days apart, but those couple days were crucial in my head because I was thinking, I could have this baby tonight, I could have this baby tomorrow, I could have this baby on Sunday, and if you guys come on Monday, then you're going to miss the birth. And so they decided they're just going to cancel our flights and hotel reservations, and they're going to come that very next day, which was Saturday. So their flight left at 4 o'clock during Florida time, and so they got to Colorado at like, I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock, and then they had to do the rental car, and that took a while, and then they had to drive from Denver to Colorado Springs, which took like an hour to 2 hours long. So they didn't end up getting to Colorado Springs until about 10 p.m. And so By that time, throughout that whole day on Saturday until they got here, I was still having contractions that were about 5 to 6 minutes apart now, and they were much stronger than they were on Thursday. So by the time my parents got to their hotel, it was like 10 p.m. and we met them at their hotel, me and my husband Aaron. And my mom had this ginormous suitcase just filled with baby stuff that she had made and bought for the baby. So we went to the hotel and we were looking through everything. And as we were looking through everything, I was getting some pretty strong contractions, and they were to the point where I could still talk through them, but I didn't really want to. I kind of wanted to just sit there and just deal with the contractions. And earlier that day, I had taken a shower and I sat on my my birthing ball, and I bounced on there for quite a bit while I was straightening my hair, and just to see, you know, if things would move along faster. And while I would get a contraction, the weirdest thing, I could not move or else it hurt so much worse. If I moved even an inch, it hurt so much worse than the contraction did. And so I couldn't move. And I thought that was really weird. During my doula studies and just things that I've been researching, I had always learned that movement during a contraction helped ease the pain and it made it more manageable. But in my situation, if I even moved the slightest bit, it would hurt so much worse. So I literally just had to sit there for, my contractions were about a minute to a minute and a half each. So I had to sit there for about a minute and a half and just take the pain. I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything to try to help it. And that was really frustrating for me because it wasn't anything how I envisioned my labor to be. So anyways, fast forward back to my parents and us at the hotel. We were looking through all the stuff and I was getting some pretty strong contractions where I just had to sit there and take it. Like I couldn't do anything about it. And I could still talk through them. They were manageable, but they were pretty strong. And so by the time me and my husband got back to our house, it was about midnight. And he was like, I'm gonna get some sleep. I don't know if this is gonna be, you know, you're gonna go into labor tomorrow or tonight. I'm gonna get some sleep because I'm gonna need some energy to cheer you on and everything during your labor, and you're gonna need some sleep too. So I tried to go to bed with him, and the contractions just kept getting stronger and stronger, that they would wake me up every time I would fall asleep when I had one, and they were still 5 to 6 minutes apart. So every time I would get one, they'd wake me up, and so I was like, you know, these are pretty strong. I think I'm just going to take a shower to try to help that heat alleviate the pain somewhat. And so during the shower, I had just felt like I was getting these contractions so consistently. They were about a minute and a half long, and I felt like they were back-to-back contractions. I got barely any break between them. So after my shower, I came out here and I drank a huge cup of water, thinking maybe I'm just dehydrated and that's why they're so strong or something. So I sat out here for about an hour and I timed them, and they were now 3 minutes apart. And so I was like, wow, that went really fast. I might have this baby tonight. Okay, sorry, somebody woke up and decided that she was hungry, so she is eating right now. But anyways, the contractions were 3 minutes apart then, and it was about 2 a.m. at that time when I timed them, and they were 3 minutes apart. And so I got this really, really strong contraction, and I got really nauseous all of a sudden. And I was still in my towel. I hadn't gotten dressed yet. And I called my husband out of the room and I told him, I'm going to throw up. I need you to grab me a trash bag because I can't move. I'm having a really strong contraction. And so he went and got me a trash bag. And as soon as the trash bag got right in front of me, I just exploded all over the place. I threw up so much. I don't think I've ever thrown up that much in my entire life before. And I'm not a person that throws up for really anything. So I threw up like crazy, and I was like, I think we should go to the hospital. I think I'm probably dehydrated, especially after throwing up that much. And I'm getting these contractions that are pretty close together, and they're pretty strong. And my midwife told me not to go in until I couldn't talk through the contractions, but I could still talk through them. But they were really painful, and I also threw up a lot, and I didn't know if that was really normal at all. So we decided to go to the hospital, and I called up my mom and dad right before we left and let them know. And they were only here for just a few hours before we headed to the hospital. So thankfully they made it. They came on Saturday instead of Monday or later. So anyways, we went to the hotel that my parents were staying at and met them there, and they followed us to the hospital. And the hospital is about a 30 to 40 minute drive. So the whole time in the car on the way there, I was getting much stronger contractions. I felt like every bump that we hit in the road, I got a super strong contraction, and it was just much more painful. And if you live in Colorado Springs, you know that there's potholes everywhere, all over the place, and so there was really no way to not hit a bump. So anyways, in the car, my husband was timing them. Every time I got one, I would say, all right, I'm getting another one. He would watch the clock and time them, and they were coming every 2 minutes apart now. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm having this baby today. It was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning at the time on the way there, and we got to the hospital, and I had already done the pre-admissions and everything, so I didn't have to sit there and fill out a whole bunch of paperwork, but I did have to sign something before I went in for some reason. So I went into triage, and they checked me, and they said that I was a 3 centimeters. I was so bummed. I almost started crying because I had already been having contractions since Thursday night, and it was Saturday night, Sunday morning technically, and so I was really bummed out that I was having all of these contractions for the past days, and they were really strong, only 2 minutes apart now, and I was only a 3 centimeters dilated. So that really, really bummed me out. And so they wanted me to stay in triage to see if I would progress, and they had the monitor on me to monitor my contractions and baby's heart rate and things like that. So after about an hour, the nurse came in. Oh, and during that hour, I just kept throwing up as well, and I don't know why I was throwing up so much, but I threw up with like every single strong contraction that I got, I would throw up. And also, it seemed that my contractions had tapered off a bit, and instead of being 2 minutes apart now, they were, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes apart now. And she checked me an hour after she checked me the first time, and I was a 4 centimeters dilated. And so she was like, okay, well, we're gonna wait on your doctor, and then we're gonna admit you into a delivery room because you are gonna have this baby. And so we were all freaking out. It was Sunday morning at the time, so Sunday really, really early in the morning. And so I was only 38 weeks and 2 days. And so to think that I was actually gonna have my baby that day, I was shocked and beside myself, and just so excited. And when they finally admitted me, it had been like an hour, and then we got admitted to the labor room, and they asked me if I wanted an epidural, and I said, you know, I don't know, I think I might tap out because these contractions are so painful. I am so exhausted. I had been throwing up for a few hours now, and I was over it. And so they gave me IV fluids because I was dehydrated and losing a lot of fluids because I just kept throwing up and throwing up and throwing up. So I had fluids, and they gave me nausea medication as well to try to help me stop throwing up. And so I finally stopped throwing up after a good while, and we were already in the delivery room by then, and they asked me if I wanted the epidural, and I said, I don't know, I think I might want one, but I'm just not sure. And they're like, well, you kind of have to decide, because the anesthesiologist is going to a case, and a case, I'm pretty sure, is like a meeting or something. So he's going to a case, and he probably has another one right after that. So you're not going to have an epidural. So if you don't decide on an epidural now, then he won't be available for the next 2 hours. And I was already a 4, I think I was a 4, almost a 5. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stick with this. I'm going to deal with this and see if I can progress fast enough within those 2 hours to have my baby, so that I'm not tempted to get the epidural, since he won't even be available by then. So the 2 hours had passed. I was only a 5, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm not progressing. I can't move, because every contraction that I got, it would just hurt really bad. And so I was just so disappointed at that time, and I was just exhausted. So I decided to get the epidural, and I was a 5 when they did the epidural, and the epidural itself was kind of weird. It was like a pressure pain, and a lot of people say that it doesn't hurt at all, and it's not like a pinching pain, it's more of like a pressure pain. And I just felt a lot of pressure on the bone underneath where he was working, and I could feel his hand shaking as he was pushing the catheter up. It was awful. But anyways, after the epidural, I sat there for a good 10 minutes, and I was like, is it normal that I can still move and I can still feel these contractions? And they're like, oh yeah, that means you got a good epidural. And I was like, oh sweet. I could still feel the contractions. They weren't painful. They were just like, I could just feel a lot of pressure every time I got one. The only time I could feel pain associated with the contraction was when I would get a really strong contractions, like off the charts on the monitor contraction. And I had a few of those during the labor process. But anyways, from when I got the epidural, they checked me about 2 hours later, and I think I was a 10 already, and fully effaced. And so they decided to see if I was ready to push, and I could feel a lot of pressure down there, like my body was saying, all right, it's time to push. And so everybody was ready. There was only my midwife, the student midwife that I allowed in the room, and the nurse, my labor and delivery nurse. There was only one of them. And so I was really blessed to only have those 3 people in the room, apart from my mom, dad, my husband, and my doula. And so my doula is another story. I didn't even think to call her until I was already 9-10 centimeters dilated, and then she came. I don't even know why. I didn't even think to call her. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about any of that while I was throwing up and having contractions. So I just didn't even think to call her until I was already that late. And so all those people were in the room, which was really nice. There wasn't a lot of people, and there wasn't a lot of medical people in the room, which is what I really wanted. Sorry, the lighting is getting really bad. There's a storm rolling in right now. But anyways, when it was time to push, I wanted to push on my side, because I knew that that would help lessen the risk of tearing. And so that was my biggest fear, is tearing. And so since I couldn't really get out of bed, since I had the epidural, I decided to push on my side, and my doctor said that was fine. And so I didn't have any stirrups or anything like that. I didn't have the giant light beaming down on me. Everything was really dim. It was a very quiet and relaxed environment, and my midwife let me push whenever I felt like I wanted to push. And the only thing that she really coached me on was I did 3 pushes every contraction that I had. And on the first push, she said to push but conserve my energy. And then on the second push, to push, give it all I have. And then the third push was just to envision just pushing her out. And so using all the energy that I had left. And so that really helped me focus on the pushing stage and what I was doing while I was pushing. And so I had the big mirror in front of me so that I could see everything that was going on, which is what I requested because I wanted to see that. And my doula was behind me videotaping, and I really wasn't sure what she was videotaping, if she was videotaping like from here to here, or if she was videotaping the mirror, or I don't know what. But I looked back at the video and she was actually videotaping the mirror, so that's why it's a little bit graphic and I might have to blur something out, but you can't really see too much because it's kind of a distance away. But anyways, I had the mirror and everything. I think I was pushing for 45 minutes, she said, and the pushing, the delivery part was amazing. I would not trade it for the world. It was amazing. Like every day before that, while I was in labor, all the throwing up, everything was just, it was gone. Like I didn't think about that at all because my delivery part was just the most amazing experience ever. And at 3 days postpartum, I was like, I want to give birth again. Let's do this all over again right now. That's how amazing it was for me. And I had absolutely no tearing whatsoever. They didn't do a perineal massage. They just put some pressure when they saw that I was, when they saw that the baby was coming or crowning. And so 45 minutes I was pushing, and she came out, as soon as her head came out, I did, I think, one more push and her body just came out all at once. And oh my gosh, I can't stop talking about how amazing it was because it really was amazing, and I would not have asked for a different experience. Maybe not getting the epidural and not throwing up so much and not having such a terribly long labor, but all of that, like the delivery trumps all of that. So it was just amazing, guys, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, like tomorrow if I could. Thanks guys so much for watching my labor and delivery story. Sorry if there was a lot of rambling going on. It's just been 2.5 weeks, so I was trying to remember every little detail that happened. But anyways, I had my daughter on Sunday at 2:15 p.m. and she was 6 pounds 1 ounce 18.5 inches long, and I was 38 weeks and 2 days. So that was my experience. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next update. Bye.